Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. This is the team Access. For today's vlog, we will be having a sort of explanation about the stages or level about the Bloom's taxonomy. But first, let me share to you guys on what is Bloom's taxonomy first. The Bloom's taxonomy was created by Benjamin Bloom in 1956, published as a kind of classification of learning outcomes and objectives that have, in the more than half century since, been used for everything from framing digital tasks and evaluating apps to writing questions and assessments. The original sequence of cognitive skills was knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. The framework was revised in 2001 by Lauren Anderson and David Krathwohl, yielding the revised Bloom's taxonomy. To explain to you guys each level of the original and the revised Bloom's taxonomy, here's my team, the team Access.
The first level of Bloom's taxonomy called knowledge. So knowledge is referred to remembering or retrieving previous learned material, recognizes a student ability to use rote memorization and recall certain facts. Test questions focused on identification and recall information. Example of verbs that relate to these functions are identify, relate, list, define, recall, memorize, repeat, record, name, recognize, and acquire. So the example here is reside and executional policy.
So the second level of the original Bloom's taxonomy is what we call the comprehension. It is the ability to grasp or construct meaning from material. It involves students' ability to read course content, interpret important information, and put others' ideas into words. Test questions should focus on use of facts, rules, and principles. Hence, there are examples of verbs that relate to this function. These are restate, locate, report, recognize, explain, express, identify, discuss, describe, review, and differentiate. So, for example, is translates an English sentence to a mathematical equation.
So, the third level of the original Bloom's taxonomy is the application. So, application is the ability to use learned material or to implement material in new and concrete situations. Students take new concepts and apply them to new situations. Test questions focus on applying facts and principles. Application is also carrying out or using a procedure for executing or implementing. Example of verbs that relate to this function are apply, relate, develop, translate, use, operate, organize, employ, structure, interpret, and another example is to apply the law of cosine to solve the trigonometric problem.
The fourth level of the original Bloom's taxonomy is analysis. Analysis is the ability to break down or distinguish the parts of the material into their components so that their organizational structure may be better understood. The test questions focus on separation of a whole into components part. Example of verbs that relate to these functions are analysis, compare, probe, inquire, examine, contrast, categorize, differentiate, investigate, detect, and examples, gather information from a department and select the required task for training.
Synthesis. It is the fifth level of Bloom's taxonomy. It occurs when learners go beyond what they have learned, understand, applied, and analyzed to create a product or develop a new method. Building, developing, formulating, and inventing plans and ideas are all part of the process. Synthesis, as it was placed on the fifth level of the Bloom's taxonomy pyramid, as it requires students to infer relationships among sources. The high-level thinking of synthesis is evident when students put the parts or information they have reviewed as a whole in order to create new meaning or a new structure. Synthesis refers to the ability to put parts together to form a new whole. This may involve the production of a unique communication like theme or speech, a plan of operations like research proposal, or a set of abstract relations like scheme for classifying information. Learning outcomes in this area stress creative behaviors, with major emphasis on the formulation of new patterns and structures. Today's students may use a variety of sources when they combine parts into a whole. The sources for synthesis may include articles, fiction, posts, or infographics, as well as non-written resources, such as films, lectures, audio recordings, or observations. Keywords for the synthesis categories are blend, categorize, compile, compose, create, design, develop, form, fuse, and unite.
The last level of original Bloom's taxonomy is the evaluation. It is the ability to judge, check, and even predict the value of materials for a given purpose. It involves a student's ability to look at someone else's ideas or principle and the worth of the work and the value of the conclusion. Examples of verbs that relate to these functions are judge, assess, compare, evaluate, include, measure, deduce, argue, decide, choose, and infer.
To give you a better understanding with regards to the Bloom's taxonomy, watch this video.
Hello and welcome to Teachings in Education, Bloom's Taxonomy, explained for classroom educators. Now, before we begin, let's give some credit to Benjamin Bloom, who created the taxonomy. And this taxonomy was later revised by Lauren Anderson. Now, here's the question posed. Why should educators use Bloom's taxonomy? Well, Bloom's taxonomy helps educators develop critical thinking skills and higher order cognitive abilities in their students. The best education is one where students are challenged. Next, what purpose does Bloom's taxonomy serve for educators? To provide a framework or organization for classifying lesson objectives, teachers can build their lessons through Bloom's taxonomy, for example. Now, let's specifically see how we can use Bloom's taxonomy. The first thing you want to do is consider the level of your students and the course level. A lesson for an algebra special education class will be different from an algebra advanced placement class. Aim to reach objectives for analyzing for remedial classes and evaluation for advanced placement classes. So, what are the levels of Bloom's taxonomy? The lowest level of cognitive rigor requires students to remember, apply, followed by analyze, followed by evaluate, and lastly, create, the highest level of cognitive rigor. Now, remember was first known as knowledge, but later revised. Similarly, understand was previously called comprehension. And lastly, the order of create and evaluate were switched. Bloom's taxonomy is actually a hierarchy, where students must first master the lower levels before mastering the higher levels. The lower levels are relatively simple levels, while the higher levels represent more complex cognitive rigor. The higher levels are more abstract as well. When utilizing Bloom's taxonomy as educators, descriptive verbs have been made available to help educators plan lessons. Verb tables have been created to align with levels of Bloom's. arrange, describe, order, name, memorize. Those particular verbs are used to set objectives for remember level, explain, summarize, paraphrase, infer, discuss, are all aligned with understanding. Break down, calculate, model, subdivide, infer are all aligned with analyze. Critique and judge are aligned with the evaluation level. And lastly, generate, plan, and produce are aligned to the top levels of cognition, which is create. Now, to summarize what we have learned thus far. To develop critical thinking in students, educators use Bloom's descriptive verbs to write lesson objectives, which are aligned to different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So, thank you for watching this video, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to this channel and if you like the video as well. Thank you very much, and please subscribe.
Thank you, Team Access, for the very informative discussion on every level of original and the revised Bloom's taxonomy. So guys, I hope you've learned a lot from our first vlog up to this video. Because this will be our last vlog, thank you guys for the support. Team Access loves you all very much. We would like to thank our professor, Sir Marlo Alvarez. Thank you, sir. So, that's it guys. Goodbye and thank you.